Hello, friends. I'm Todd Aaron Smith, and I am so glad you're here. I was thinking about what would be fun to draw today, and I thought it would be great to do a sketch of a forest scene. You can do this one too. I'll show you how fun and easy it is to make a great drawing of trees, and I think you'll enjoy it when you try it. You know, I am constantly sketching and doodling. Do you do that too? Well, whether you are drawing along with me or just watching, I hope you will be inspired to sketch this one yourself. You are an artist, and you can do it. Let me show you. All right, getting started here. I just want to lightly sketch a few lines, block them into where I want to draw my trees on this sketch. And so I'm just doing a little bit of thinking on the paper, and I'm just making some lines. Some of them are much longer than others. Some of them are closer together than others. And, I always talk about wanting to make dynamic compositions. And that's part of the thinking here. I just want to make my trees spread out and diverse and have different varying qualities about them. So I'm just like I said, thinking about this on paper as I go right now. You want to keep your drawings interesting. And it might be interesting to be able to see a horizon line that has a whole row of trees that goes across it. And they're all the same size, and they're all the same shape, and they look exactly the same. They're all the same distance apart. But I think we can do a little bit better. I'm going to use a different pencil here, which I will tell you about coming up in just a little bit. But for now, I just want to start my sketches in kind of a dynamic way, and I'll show you that as well as we go along. Let's talk about sketching trees. I guess these would be pine trees that I'm drawing right now. What I would like for you to notice is how there seems to be no rhyme or reason for drawing them at all. I'm just kind of scribbling, which is what I really love to do, and I hope you like doing that too. I can go back and forth and side to side making these branches. I don't want them to ever be even with each other or the same size or anything else. And, if my branches look like they're the same size and spaced out the same way, then I'm probably doing it the hard way. I just want to be more loose and free and just sketch whatever I think about and just go back and forth. You'll notice that these are nothing more than just some scribble marks. I'm making my trees look more like a texture than anything else. Your trees should have texture and should look that way. If you see a tree in a distance, you don't see a million pine needles sticking out of the tree. It basically looks like a shape. And that's what I'm doing with these branches, just kind of making them a shape and scribbling back and forth. And it doesn't make any difference at all what they look like. They're going to look just fine. It's hard to make a mistake with these. Hey, let me show you something. This is my brand new drawing pad. I'm kind of excited about this because I have a bunch of new ones. But when I was a kid, I used to draw Christmas trees this way. I would go back and forth and make these big triangular branches, and I tried to make them match on each side. Here's my Christmas tree bulbs. There's some candy canes hanging on the tree. And there's the base of it, and I'm going to put a couple of presents under the tree. This is how I used to draw when I was younger, and maybe you used to draw Christmas trees just like this when you were in grade school. But that's not the way that I do it anymore. Now I've got a little bit different method to draw pine trees. I love to doodle trees this way. They're a lot of fun, and like I said, it's really hard to get them wrong. If you just go back and forth, I start at the top and make a point, and just as I go down, I make them a bit wider. Now, the first one that I didn't get very much wider. That tree has a lot of personality, I guess. It just goes straight down without getting wider and wider as it goes down to the base. But the one that I'm doing now, I think I'll make this guy go a little bit wider as I go down to the bottom. And I think it's looking pretty good. I'm just, again, making these scribbly sketch marks and not worrying about the size of these branches or the shape of them. Just kind of drawing whatever I feel like doing. Look at that tree. And here's another one. I'm going to make this one a bit taller. You can see how I'm just going back and forth on these and just being very loose and free with my sketching. And in the case of making trees like this, I think that's exactly the way that you should do it. It's very easy to do this, and it has a good result. It looks great when you're done with your sketch. You know, I was the kid in school who used to doodle sketches on the side of my notepad while the teacher was talking. Did you do that too? That was me. I did that all the time. And as a matter of fact, I'm still that kid that does that. I still make little sketches everywhere, all the time. And I've heard that that's actually a good memory exercise. I don't know if that's true, but I've read that if you're doodling or drawing while listening to something, you are more likely to remember it. And so I would just sit there and sketch on the side of my notebooks, and maybe that contributed to me remembering what the teacher was talking about. I don't know if that works that way or not. Maybe you know more about that than I do. And if you do, let me know. Send me an email. Let me know if that's true. The sketching that I want to do today, though, is kind of a step up from just doodling. Lots of times when I'm doodling, I'll make a whole bunch of trees in a row, and then sometimes I even make a mountain range that's behind them. And it kind of looks like Alaska. When I was younger, I got to visit Alaska, and I got to see how beautiful that is. So sometimes when I'm drawing trees, I'll make a mountain range behind that, and it just reminds me of what I saw in Alaska. Sometimes I'll draw a cityscape. It's not trees, but I'll draw a little cityscape, and then draw the mountains behind that, and it looks very much like Alaska if you do that. Google Anchorage, Alaska. Take a look at some pictures of Anchorage, Alaska. It's just absolutely beautiful. And you can see big cityscapes there of actually the cityscape of Anchorage with big mountain ranges behind it. It's absolutely beautiful. So that's what I do when I'm doodling, but the sketch that I'm making now is going to be a bit different than that. Now in the background here, as you can see, I'm making some little tiny trees that are very different than those ones in the foreground in size. Otherwise, they're not very much different. I'm still just kind of scribbling back and forth to make them, and starting with the point at the top. And as I go down, I go lighter and lighter and lighter on the pencil until they just kind of fade away. And I'm going to make this effect happen much more later. I'll show you how that works. But I'm just drawing trees, and they're kind of going uphill as I'm drawing them. And I'm starting with the point at the top, like I said, and as I go down, they begin to kind of disappear. And there's a good reason for that. I'm doing that on purpose, and I will share that with you coming up in just a minute, because I'm going to add some more to it, and I'll tell you about it as I'm adding to it. But for now, I'm just kind of reaching into these little places and making some of these sketches as I go. You may have also noticed that I started close to the middle. It's not directly in the middle with my first tree, and I went over towards the right of the paper, and then I worked my way back towards the left, and there's a lot of trees over on the left side that I haven't even drawn yet. I'm going to be making those coming up, but I started with the right side, and the reason for that is very simple. It's because I'm left-handed. And a lot of times when I'm drawing, if I start on the left side and go across to the right side, I'll drag my hand right across my own drawing and smear it in a way that I don't want it to be smeared. And so I have a tendency to start on the right and go across to the left. Maybe if you're right-handed, you'll do it the opposite way. You can do it however you want. It doesn't matter. It's all in how you can do it the best. That's the only reason that I do it that way. I'm using a pencil right now out of the set called Gioconda. It's made by Koh-I-Noor. They make some of the best art materials I've ever used in my life. This one in particular is called Aquarelle, and I believe it's a 2B that I'm using. And it's a bit darker than the first pencil that I used. The first one that I used was called Mephisto. It was just a mechanical pencil. And, I use it all the time with all of my sketches. I like to make my initial sketches with that Mephisto mechanical pencil, and then I will change up pencils and use different ones that are heavier and darker leads later. But I tell anybody who will listen to me that the Mephisto is the greatest mechanical pencil I've ever held in my hand. And that's no exaggeration either. I'm not kidding when I tell people that. It really is the best pencil I have ever held. And I love to draw with it. I have 3 of them, and I have them in different places where there's always one within reach of me, or I just carry one around. The weight of it is just exactly what I want it to be when I'm drawing. The balance feels really good. It draws perfectly. I can count on that pencil all the time, and it's just a great feeling to draw with that pencil. And, I'd like to encourage you to check it out. It's called Mephisto, Mephisto, and it's a great pencil. It's made by Koh-I-Noor, and try it for yourself and tell me if that isn't the greatest pencil you've ever used. But the Gioconda set is a package of drawing tools, also made by Koh-I-Noor. I use Koh-I-Noor materials all the time because I consistently get good results from them. I used to use office supply materials and all kinds of art supplies that are just really not art supplies. They're more like toys, or they're school supplies or whatever. I've drawn with pens and number 2 pencils and all that kind of stuff. But once I began using real art materials, and I do call Koh-I-Noor products real art materials, I never want to use anything else. I get good results from them, and like I said, it's you can't go wrong with these materials. You can be a good artist. Certainly, I'm not saying that you can't be a good artist if you use office supplies or school supplies to create your art. I've actually seen some stunningly beautiful drawings made with a ballpoint pen, and they're just amazing. But I'm just saying that there are some inexpensive art supplies available that will help your artwork shine. You will be amazed at the difference. It really does make a difference to have good art supplies when you're drawing. And so the Gioconda set is one such set, and the Mephisto pencil, those are really good pencils to use. And the one that I'm using right now is from that set. So I put down my very basic line drawing with the Mephisto pencil, and then I pick up the Aquarelle pencil from the Gioconda set, and I go back and forth and just create the new things. Now, as you see here, I just drew another line so I could stick in another tree that wasn't there before. I just thought that looked like a good place for a tree to be, and didn't change pencils. I'm still using the Aquarelle, and just put it right in there. Let's make another one here right beside it. A bit smaller, but you can see that it's in the background behind the front 2 trees there. Let's make another one here right beside that to show you. Start with the point, and as I go down, I continue to make them a bit wider, and I kind of dissolve them out to nothing really as I'm going down. Let's start up here. Maybe this would be the top of the hill as I've gone across, making those trees in the far background. And you know what? I think I'm going to make this background here be very far background. And so my trees, take a look at this. My trees here are just basically some scribbles going straight up. Some lines go a bit higher, some go a bit lower. And I'm just going to make that be a texture up there. I'm not even going to sit here and draw a bunch of trees up there. The effect that it's going to have is that there's hundreds of trees up in the distance. But you can do that so easily and so quickly just by kind of giving the illusion that there are trees up there. Coming across to the right side, I'm just going to shade that in a bit. There's a trick to sketching that I like to call drawing something without actually drawing it. Let me show you that. What I'm doing is creating a mist kind of an effect, or a fog that's between my trees that are in the front and my trees that are far off in the distance. I'm not drawing any mist or fog. I'm just drawing my trees in such a way that it kind of gives the illusion that there is mist and fog back there. And so when I start to draw the trees, I start at the top of them, as I showed you, and I go down, and they get lighter and lighter and lighter as they go down, and so they just fade into nothing at all. And when you look at that at the end, it looks like there is fog or mist between the trees. And so you've drawn mist or fog between your trees without actually drawing it at all. And it's a very nice effect. It's kind of an illusion. The illusion of mist. I kind of like the sound of that. Don't you like the sound of that? The illusion of mist. I don't know if you name your sketches or not. Some artists name their artwork. I don't really do that. But if I did, this one would be called The Illusion of Mist, I think. What I'm doing right now is I've taken a regular napkin and I've just wrapped it around one of my fingers and made a point, and I'm just going from kind of the middle of the trees and just blending that pencil that I've already done out. And as soon as I move my hand here, you'll be able to see that the pencil that I've laid down in some places is being blended and softened, and it's going to create a really nice effect. I'll show you how that's going to be. You'll see what that does. And I'm only doing the trees that are back there in the background. I'm not going to do the ones in the foreground. The ones in the foreground should have more details to them. And the ones in the background, obviously, should have far less details and just look like a kind of a texture there in the background. But you can still see that they're trees. They still look like trees that go off in the distance and go up that hill with the fog between them. And I'm going to even punch that out further. There's what that napkin looks like with that pencil. The pencil has literally lifted off. Now I'm going to use a woodless graphite pencil. A woodless graphite is pretty amazing technology. If you call it technology, I don't know if it's technology. But when somebody first told me about this pencil, I didn't know what to think about that. You know, I wondered, why in the world would I want to use a pencil like that? And there's a couple of really nice features to this pencil that I'm using. First, it lays down some heavy shade. It's a very dark pencil when you draw with it, and it's just beautiful. You can get some amazing effects with it. And what you can see here is that I'm just going back and forth and putting some dark tones over the shadows of the trees. I'm not just drawing over every line that I've already drawn. I'm just highlighting some of them. I made the center line of the tree darker, and I go back and forth very quickly and just highlight some of those shadows on the branches. But I didn't know why in the world I would ever need one of these, and it's just a magnificent pencil. I'd love to use this to go over my drawings and just punch out the tones. As you might be able to see here already, it's bringing those trees in the foreground much further forward, and it gives my drawing quite a bit more of a 3D effect, which is exactly what I want. I want it to look 3D. I want those trees in the background to look like they're really far in the background. And so going over the foreground trees rather with the woodless graphite pencil can help create that very well. A lot of people will make their sketch and they'll get done with it and they'll just call it done, and they don't go over the shadows in the foreground, and so the background is the exact same tone of pencil that the foreground is, and the 3D is kind of lost. But if you do it this way, the way that I'm doing it now, you kind of get a nice effect. You know, I'm drawing all the time, every chance I get. I've done that all of my life. I don't believe there's ever a day that goes by without me making at least one sketch. So let me share a secret with you. Would you like to know a secret about drawing? Well, here it is. Make a bunch of drawings. What? What kind of a secret is that, right? Yep, it may sound really simple and not much of a secret, but here's the thing. I draw every day, every chance I get. I make lots and lots of drawings, but I don't show all of those drawings to people. In fact, I don't show very many of them to people. I only show a few of my drawings. So I've got these sketchbooks where I've drawn in them page after page after page, all these drawings that pile up. And after making a lot of drawings, and I look back through them, some of them are really pretty good. And so I'm quick to show those drawings that I think are good to other people, and they just magically think that I'm a great artist because they've only ever seen the successful, nice drawings. They don't see the 100 drawings that I did before that one. I draw because I love to draw, and I never intend to show any of my sketches to anyone. But I know that with as many as I make, I will certainly be making a few that are worth showing. It's a little bit like if I went out to shoot at targets with a bow and arrow, and later I told you about all of the times that I hit the target, but I didn't bother to mention the times that I missed it. Or if I played a couple of games of baseball and I later talked about the home run that I hit, but I didn't bother to mention that I also struck out 10 times. It's kind of like that. Most people can identify a work by Picasso if they see one. There are several really famous ones that are made by Picasso, and he's very well known for them. But what a lot of people don't realize is that Picasso is said to have made 50,000 works of art in his lifetime. 50,000. He made paintings, drawings, prints, sculptures, ceramics. Are you familiar with all 50,000 of them? Of course you're not. Nobody is. There are several that became world famous, but most of them are unknown. And it is this way with many great artists. And it can be this way with you. Make a bunch of drawings, draw all the time. Create sketches because it's wonderful. It's absolutely glorious to make sketches. And don't worry for even a minute if your sketches aren't perfect. They don't have to be. Perfection is not your goal, or it shouldn't be your goal. Your sketches are for you. And if you choose to share some of them, well, that's a bonus. By the way, this stuff in the foreground that the trees are on, do you know what that is? I don't either. Go to my website and email me if you know what that is, because I don't know what it is. I'm just making it up as I go. Trees do not float around in the air, and so you have to put them on some kind of a ground or a hill or something. So maybe this is high grass or weeds or bushes or maybe even rocks. I don't know what that is, but it really doesn't matter because it looks right to me. And I'm going to show you, I'm going to blend this, I think, but I'm going to do some more working on it. There's the same napkin that I used before to blend the background. I'm going to make another point of it around my finger, and I'm just going to go ahead and blend some of this background stuff. I've mentioned a couple of times sending me an email and letting me know what you think, and you're certainly welcome and invited to check out my website. It's toddaaronsmith.com. My full name, Todd Aaron Smith, with no spaces between those three names.com. And I'd love to have you visit there and take a look at some of the things that I work on, some of the baseball cards I've done, some of the animations, some of the kids' books, some of the other things. And you're welcome to take a look. Feel free to shoot me an email and send me some pictures of your sketches. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to see those sketches. Okay, so now that I've blended that, I want to go back with my woodless graphite and punch out a couple more of the darker areas. It also gives it a texture when you do it this way, and just looks really good. All right, so this is pretty much all I really wanted to do with this sketch, and I look forward to moving on to another one soon. Drawing trees like these is a great exercise in sketching and just letting my mind wander. I made up a phrase a little while back. I say it's a free-thinking sketch artist, and that's my phrase for just letting your mind go and sketching and just being completely free. And in this case, I've done it with 3 pencils, the Mephisto mechanical pencil, the Aquarel drawing pencil from the Gioconda set, and then the woodless graphite. And I'm just going back through here and doing a couple of minor details. That's all this is. So there you go. Drawing trees in this way is a lot of fun. It allows you to be creative, and it's easy to do. You are an artist, and there is nothing about making this sketch that you can't do yourself. Now that you've seen that, have some fun. You can do anything. I like using a couple of pencils to make these sketches because I love the effect I can get from using them together. You should make your sketches in the way that works best for you. Create your own worlds and do it however it makes you happy. You are an artist, and that's why you should create your art. See you next time.